guys! Welcome to today's Big Brother Canada updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Kenny D. Thanks again for your continued support. You're so awesome. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, please, please, please check out our Patreon link in the info box below. I got so many open spaces for you guys starting tomorrow and every other day after that. So make sure you check it out. It's only $1 to be house guest of the day, and it would mean so much to us. So thank you in advance. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the house. Remember how yesterday Tim had all of his one-on-one meetings with all the house guests to figure out who's going to be nominated this week? Well, Cassandra and Nikki were talking about it, and Cass is like really regretting her decision with her point allocation, because she's realizing like everybody wants Dallas up, so voting for Dallas was kind of a waste. So she wants to change her vote, 3 points for Maddie and 2 points for Ramsey. She feels like Maddie has been sitting really pretty so far in this game, and she wants her to feel the heat a little bit. So Nikki and Cass both think that Tim would be cool with her changing her vote because they're so close. It's all good. So then Cass goes and talks to Tim about it. She's like, "Can I change my vote, please?" And Tim's like, no. He said no. The nominations are already locked in. It's done. It's over. Move on. So she's just like, bleh. All right. She thinks she's going to get special treatment because she's so close to Tim. And he's just like, no, it's not going to work like that. So a little bit of fun for the house guests yesterday. Big Brother gave them a pizza party and some beer for completing their task yesterday. I talked about it in yesterday's spoiler, so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you might want to check that out. And Levita and Kelsey also got a pizza party to celebrate. That's wonderful. Okay, so there was some late game talk in the HOH yesterday. Tim, Cass, and Jared. And I know last week Tim was all, if I win HOH, like there's going to be no game talk outside of the board meetings. This, I think, would be game talk, but at the same time, there has been way less game talk this week, so, you know, it's kind of a nice break, but at the same time, it's a little bit boring. So, none of these three could believe, still, how the double eviction went down last week. Jared really feels like he dodged a bullet. Yeah, Maddie was the freaking HOH, and she went after her own alliance. And they weren't even sure that the brothers would want to shake things up and use the power of veto like they did, but they did. So then they were talking about their targets, and Jared names his. He wants to go after Dallas, Ramsey, and then Maddie. Predictable. They all seem to be in agreement with that. They want to just totally obliterate that side of the house. All right, so let's check in on the hidden suite. Why not? Levita and Kelsey have been watching the feeds without sound, and that sucks. But they've been, you know, picking up on some things. They see Mitch making his way around the whole house, and they're really catching on to his game right now. They realize that he's playing everyone. They're kind of comparing notes from when they were in the house, and it sounds like they could possibly be targeting him, whoever goes back in. Not Mitchy Poo! I feel like that really sucks if Mitch does get taken out for that reason. Something like completely out of his control like that. It blows. But anyway, the Pax brothers have been arguing recently about filling in each other on information. So Phil checked in with Nick. How nice. Again, though, he's not really being very nice to him. He's like, yeah, we're in a really good spot right now. Don't F it up. He's always assuming that Nick is going to be the one that blows this whole operation. So he's like, yeah, we got a Final Four in place here. We're going to go to the Final Four with Tim, Cass, and Jared. I don't understand why everyone thinks it's such a great idea to go to the end with Tim. I know he keeps telling them that, like, once they get to the very end, he's just going to bow out and let them win. Do we really think that Tim is going to do that? I feel like once Tim gets close to that money, and not just the money though, but like that title, he's going to be like, I have to win this. I need this. I mean, really, who wouldn't? But especially, you know, knowing Tim's personality, he wants that spotlight. So Cassandra, again, was begging Tim for info on the nominations tally. First of all, she's trying to push again to change her votes to give some to Maddie, and Tim's like, no. And then she's trying to find out if anyone voted for her. And I'm pretty sure nobody did, but she wants to know. She feels like maybe there could have been some votes in there. So Tim's like, no, I'm not breaking my own rules. So again, it's too late. It's done. You get nothing. All right. So then Dallas and Nikki were chatting with Tim in the HOH room, or the HOH. And Dallas is trying to make a deal with Tim. Earlier in the day when he had his meeting with Tim, he was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I want all 5 of my points on myself. So he wasn't really playing that game, but now he's changing his tune a little bit. He's like, Tim, you're not my target. I'd be willing to work with you. Like, I think we could be really good together. And Tim's just like, I didn't want this power in the first place, being the HOH. So he left it up to the house, and whatever happens, happens. He was basically like, I don't want your freaking deal. Get out. So they had nominations last night, and the house, emphasis on the house, nominated Dallas and Ramsey. So, I mean, they couldn't have really been surprised about that, right? Maybe Ramsey, but not Dallas. So Dallas and Ramsey were chatting, and Ramsey's trying to figure out who voted for him, because it sounds like Tim let them know how many points that they had. So if you don't remember, Dallas had 30 and Ramsey had 9. So Dallas is, I keep mixing them up. So Ramsey is just like, where did these 9 votes come from? Because he knew about 5 of them. The people actually came up to him and told him. I think Joel and Mitch told him, like, yo, I sent some points your way. But he's like, where did those other 4 votes come from? So he's trying to figure that out, and Dallas is reassuring him, like, dude, if the nominations stay the same after the power veto, you're fine. Like, they're gonna vote me out. So you just relax. Dallas does not want to pout about this situation. He's looking forward to the power veto. He's ready for it. And it sounds like Dallas and Ramsey really want to get Cass nominated this week. Can you imagine how crazy that would be if Cass went home during Tim's HOH? Yeah, it'd be crazy. So speaking of Cass, Ramsey really doesn't like her. But also speaking of Cass, she was chatting with Dallas in the storage room, and she was telling him that she wants him to stay. She wants him to win that power of veto, and that sounds all great and everything, but obviously she has ulterior motives. Cass wants to see Dallas come down off the block and then have Maddie nominated in his place and voted out. She wants Maddie out. It's funny, though, because Cass is always saying how people like Maddie want all of the other girls out in the house, and then she turns around and is just like, we need to get rid of Maddie, before she was saying get rid of Levita. So I feel like they're all pretty similar, and they just like to call each other out on the same faults that they have. All right, so I know it's really philosophical, but anyway, Raul and Mitch had a little game chat, and this was interesting. I just love listening to these two when they're together. They're really funny. So Raul is like, I want to go to the end of the game with you. Mitch agrees. They end up shaking on a final 2. That could be cool. It would be interesting. Raul is then talking about how he feels like they need to get rid of Nikki and Tim. He wants to keep that prize money in Canada. And he also thinks that Nikki and Tim have a really good shot at winning if they make it to the end. So somebody's got to take them out. And he's thinking, I could be that person. So Mitch is just like, Tim, definitely. Nikki, not as much. He doesn't see her with as good of a chance of winning. All right, so let's check back in on the Hidden Suite. Levita and Kelsey were kind of breaking down all of their relationships and stuff pretty much from the beginning of the game up until they were both evicted, and there was so much rehashing. It got a little tense at times. It got a little bit tense, I will say that. But just in general, in that suite, it's just been like blah, 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 on and on and on. Oh my god, it would drive me crazy. So this morning, Jared and Phil checked in with each other, and they were kind of taking stock of their relationships in the house, like, how are you with Mitch? Good. How are you with this person? Good. How are you with this person? So Jared mentions that he's noticed that he and Raul have kind of drifted since Kelsey left. Yeah, I could have told you that was going to happen. So Jared has been hanging out more with Phil. Raul has been hanging out more with Mitch, but they feel like they're all pretty good together, so they want to plan like a 4-person activity soon. It just sounded so weird the way they said it. But anyway, this morning they picked the players for the Power Veto. The host is Phil. And the players, we have Tim, Dallas, and Ramsey, and then 3 extra players, Mitch, Jared, and Cassandra. So, after that, Nikki was talking to Tim, and she was just like, I don't think you should let the Power Veto winner pick the replacement nominee. She's getting a little nervous about that. So that was Tim's original plan for the POV. I'm pretty sure he only told Nikki about it, but he told everybody else that he had something in mind for the Power Veto that was a little different, and he was going to tell them about it later. So he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. He's not feeling that. So he's thinking, first of all, he wants Dallas out. That's his #1 target. If Dallas comes off the block, he wants to nominate Maddie, and that's the new target, I guess. So Tim is going to try to cover his tracks by telling everyone that Big Brother wouldn't let him go through with his original plan. I gotta say, I don't know about this. So Tim, Cass, Jared, and Phil were having a game chat, and they're all pretty much on the same page with who they want to go after. They want to keep targeting Dallas and his crew, Maddie and Ramsey, but then after that, Tim is like, we should get rid of Joel. And they all seem to agree with that, too. And then if Maddie goes, Cassandra's realizing, like, whoa, it's just going to be me and Nikki left for the girls. And she seems pretty excited about that. Again, Cass is one of the ones that's always like, she wants to take out all the girls, blah, blah, blah. She seems pretty excited about it. So the house guests were super bored all day today waiting for the Power Veto competition. It finally started just before 6, and the feeds went down for a few hours, and when they came back, we find out that Ramsey won the Power of Veto. So I'm wondering who this replacement nominee is going to be, because yes, Tim said that he wants to put up Maddie, but I'm thinking that was more if Dallas comes down. So now that Ramsey's going to be coming down, it might be too risky to put up Maddie if Tim does, in fact, want Dallas to go home. Because I think there's a real growing sentiment in the house. They want Maddie out. They want her out. So, you know, there could be a possible flip there to get rid of her instead of Dallas. Should be interesting to see what Tim does here. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who's going to go up on the block? And until tomorrow, much love.